Buenas a todos. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Welcome to Chancleta Generation Podcast once again. As everyone hopefully knows by now, my name is Clemencia, and I am the founder of Moira Studio, and that's an advertising agency that communicates with Latinos the only way that we should, which is authentically. And today we're going to talk about something super exciting and really dear and near to my heart. So we've talked a lot about aspects of Latino culture and how we work every day to evolve with it, interpret it in our own way, make it work with the culture of the country where we live now. And one of those aspects is the arts and, music, dance, literature, poetry, visual arts, all of those beautiful things that we have carried with us from our countries. And now that we apply our own flavor to in this one, it's in my opinion, one of the ways that we find our identity. One of the things that we talk about a lot in this podcast is about identity. How do we find that? How do we define that? How do we discover that in ourselves? And so with us today is someone who's been working tirelessly on preserving Latino culture in a city that is not predominantly Latino, which pretty challenging, I think. So with us today is Dr. Vanessa Calderón-Rosado. Welcome.
Gracias, Clemencia. Thank you for having me in Chancleta Generation. And I'm one of those Chancleta Generation kids because I love the Chancleta pretty well growing up.
Yeah, we know it, right? So Dr. Calderón-Rosado, PhD, is the CEO of IBA, Inquilinos Boricuas en Acción, which is a Boston-based community building nonprofit that empowers individuals through the creation of high-quality, affordable housing, education, residential services, and arts programming. And throughout her 20-year tenure, IBA has become the largest Latino-led nonprofit in Greater Boston. Very nice! And she has served as an advisor to Boston Police Department, Boston Public Health Commission, and most recently, the Healy-Driscoll Transition Committee focused on housing. She serves on the board. Oh man, you serve on a lot of boards. Board of Directors of the Bar Foundation, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, Boston Foundation, Franklin Square House Foundation, MACDC, and Yockey Foundation, and on the Eastern Bank Advisory Board. How do you find the time to do all those things?
Well, it gets really busy, but it's also a lot of fun. So it's just hard to roll with the punches.
Very impressive. So she received her doctorate in public policy from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and an honoris causa doctorate from Cambridge College. I mean, Vanessa, you know how I feel about your accomplishments. I'm always super impressed. I've told you many times that I want to be like you when I grow up. And you also just gotta...
I'll grow up.
You also just got a library named after you.
Yes, that was a very touching recognition from the Margarita Muñiz Academy, which is the first dual language high school in Massachusetts, named after a trailblazer on bilingual education in Massachusetts, the late Margarita Muñiz. And I'm one of the co-founding members of the school, so I've been very attached to the school and a strong supporter of the school. And they surprised me with the great honor of naming the library after me. The school didn't have a library, and the school is now 11 years old. So finally, they're able to open a library for the students, the high school students. The school is expanding to 7th and 8th grade next year. So wonderful, wonderful school community, wonderful place in which, through the arts, which is what we will be talking about today, through the arts and dual language education, young people are prepared for college, careers, and for life. So it's a really pretty cool space and school.
That's awesome. Congratulations. The work that you've done in Boston is it's very notable, and it's, it's well deserved because, it's like I said, not Latinos are not the majority here, and so there's a lot of work to be done in that space, and you've been doing all this work for the last 20 years. So tell me, you've expressed, preparing kids for life, and I guess it's one of the ways that the arts is so important. But what is it that kind of initiated this for you? Like, why did you embark on this journey of preserving Latino arts in Boston?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm born and raised in Puerto Rico. So I came to Massachusetts as a graduate student to do my PhD with the intention of going back. And like for many of us, it happens, I ended up staying. So for me, growing up, arts and culture was very important in my family. Theater, music, dance was part of our DNA. But then coming here, obviously that became even more important because it was a way to connect with my roots, to connect with my culture, to stay connected with who I am, with who we are, right? So early on, when I moved to Massachusetts, many people say, oh, you're from Puerto Rico, you have to visit Villa Victoria and IBA, Inquilinos Boricuas en Acción. And I did. And I remember coming to the community the first time I walked through the streets of Villa Victoria, smelling the olor a chuleta y habichuelas. Y yo, oh my God, it's just, I'm in Puerto Rico, ¿qué pasa? Oh my God. And then IBA, since its founding in 1968, has been doing arts programming around Latino arts. And that includes Puerto Rican arts, but also Latin American arts. So I started coming to IBA's arts programs, Festival de Dances, and a number of other events that IBA has done over the years. And it turns out that in 2003, many years later, I joined IBA to be part of this wonderful mission-driven organization. And from the very beginning, Clemencia, when the group of Puerto Rican activists that created IBA back in 1968, from that very beginning, they saw the arts as an important vehicle to build community. In addition to celebrate our culture, celebrate our history, our roots, our heritage, who we are, they saw the power of the arts in building thriving communities, safe communities, healthy communities, engaged communities with a lot of social capital. And it is an honor for me to continue that legacy in this past 21 years now of working at IBA and continuing that tradition and legacy of using the arts as a vehicle for building community, for creating space for Latino artists and Latino arts, promoting Latino artists, helping young people, as we talked earlier, through the arts to stay connected to their schoolwork, their community, their identity. So it is super important. Sometimes people do not realize how important arts are for every community, especially for the Latino community. We are the fastest growing group population, both in Boston and in Massachusetts. So it's important that we continue to use the arts. So as we grow and become a bigger number and a majority, so important to use the arts to cement our roots, to take pride in who we are, and to contribute to the broader society and the civic society.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned using the arts as community building, and that is so true because, you go to a music festival that's playing like salsa, like your festival de Dances, and you have the whole range of Latinos in there, anywhere from Mexican all the way to Argentinian, and then you have also Americans, there because they, there's Americans that take salsa lessons, or there's Americans that that they are married to a Latino, or also they're just interested in the food or whatever. And the food is it's another way of community building, but just everybody dancing, having fun, enjoying the food, like all of that way is just such a beautiful way for people to just meet each other and also just see that we're all humans, like this is that, like we're normal. We're not this like weird thing over there that's like, taking your jobs or whatever. We're just like, we're regular people that have, families that have, that enjoy life, and like and that's like it's a way that we are meeting each other in a much more lighter and positive way, rather than like, heavy, sad things that usually it have to do with like Latino issues. It's just such a nicer way, and so it's like we're
and that's one of the things that the arts do too, right? They bring people together, so it allows also to build bridges, right, between cultures and between people and between communities. So it's really such a powerful vehicle for share our humanity, to enjoy life and to bring joy to communities. Because what you just described, that scene, as you're talking, Clemencia, and you're describing that scene, I'm seeing the space, I'm seeing the community, and I'm feeling the joy of people coming together, dancing, enjoying themselves, like you said, feeling lighter. So that's the power of the arts, right? That sense of joy and that sense of humanity that we all can enjoy. And that happens with all the arts, right? It's just not necessarily Latino arts, but for us, because that's so critical for, such a source of pride. It really is important, and then it helps us build those bridges with other communities, whether the African American community, the white community, Asian community, etc. One of the things that we have done at IBA over the years is also bring those communities and celebrate them as well, or find intersections. The African culture is so important and core to the Latino culture. In Puerto Rico, like in many countries throughout Latin America, but especially in the Caribbean and in Colombia and Venezuela, there's such a strong influence of Africa in our culture, in our music, in our food, in our language, in our words. So finding those intersections, right, of Afro-Latinidad, and bringing people together and really helping people understand our culture and our history through the arts is just really unbelievable. So it's extremely powerful. And when it comes especially to children, like the Margarita Muñiz or the youth development program at IBA that works with young people in high school, the arts helps them also stay engaged with their education. So it has so many important and deep impacts in our community that we need to continue that.
Yeah. And also the other thing that's interesting is that, and that you guys have worked on is that, of course, there's like Bad Bunny, right? That's like, he's in a league of his own. Yeah. But then there's our culture goes so much deeper than that, right? Like, usually people are like, oh, Latinos, Shakira and Bad Bunny is like reggaeton and pop music. But it's like, we also have poetry. We also have, we even like play classical music. There's Gustavo Dudamel, who is the conductor of an orchestra here in the US. There's we have tango. We have just the breadth and the depth of our culture just goes so much farther and beyond. Yes, okay, come for the reggaeton and stay for for the other things. For the tango or like just so there's so much more to it. And I think like, I feel like sometimes it could be a hard sell, right? Especially when trying to raise money and try to get funded for these more niche pieces of art, like also like sculptures or painters. So, it's there's so much out there. There's so many also rising artists, and also artists that are kind of like doing fusion. They're not completely doing Latino work. They're trying to do like Latino with American stuff.
Yeah.
So there's just like so much, and it's sometimes it could become like, okay, is this something worth presenting or worth bringing to people as well, besides the mainstream stuff, right?
Absolutely. And you touch a very important point here, and it's funding for the arts. Generally speaking, funding for the arts is always limited, unless you're talking about big symphony orchestras, that type of thing, because they have big, deep donors. But overall, funding for the arts is always limited. Then, when you segment arts funding into more cultural or ethnic arts, then the pie gets even smaller. So it's always it's always a challenge to find funding for the arts. And as you said, if you go out of the mainstream, you're taking a risk, right? Because then that's not the Bad Bunnies of the world, of the Shakiras or J-Los or Mark Anthony's or whatnot. However, it is so important for us, for example, at IBA, to really take advantage of that huge, rich diversity and expose that, promote that, because we promote from folkloric arts to really avant-garde, more, stuff that people, but we want to also give the artists the platform, right, to promote their talents and to grow an audience. But also we want to expose people to different things. You don't have to like it. You come, you listen. If you like it, que bueno. If you don't like it, you move on and say, that's not my cup of tea. Like when you go to a museum and you look at a Picasso and you say, I like it. Or you may look at another Picasso and say, like, what was that about? So it's just it's that, and we want to do that. I think it's important, the breadth and depth of Latino arts is amazing. It really is, the talent. And you have local artists that are upcoming, that are studying at Berklee College of Music or at Mass Arts or at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts. And I'm talking obviously in Boston, but like that in other cities across this country. You have those local upcoming artists. We want to give them a space. We want to give them a platform. We want to give them a stage for them to present their work. But also then you want to bring other, more established artists, different types of music, different types of art, installation art, performing visual dance. So you want to balance it out, and you want to really expose and promote that richness. Many years ago, before I started working here at IBA had, this is a funny story. IBA used to hold an event every so often, like maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And the event was called Salsa con Chutzpah. And I remember the first time, con chutzpah, chutzpah. But chutzpah is that Hebrew term for like con ganas, ¿no? Ganas, con chutzpah.
Con sazón.
Con sazón, exacto. Salsa con chutzpah. And I was like, so I was like, I want to go, but I was like, I don't know. So I convinced a friend of mine who's Americana, she's not Latina, to come with me. And she's not Jewish. Neither one of us are Jewish, but I said, I convinced her to come and check it out. We had a great time. The whole event was a fusion of salsa music with clamor music, which is kind of Hebrew-inspired, Jewish-inspired music. So it was very different, but it was a lot of fun. And what I loved the most, in addition to the music, which was very interesting, it was the vibe, the joy, the people. There was such a diverse group of people in that space at the Arts Center for the Arts here in Villa Victoria, that really kind of spoke to me and made me feel like I'm part of a larger community, I'm part of the world. This is a global community, and we're all embracing each other through music, through salsa con chutzpah. And that's also one amazing thing that the arts do and can accomplish.
Yeah, I mean the fact that well, also, like, I was thinking when you were saying that, is that the more that we introduce people to these different genres, the more well-rounded we become as Latinos, I think, and also in the eyes of other people and also in our own eyes. So because we keep learning more about, like, I don't know, I learned so much also about like indigenous art. There's new indigenous art now, not just like, you know, from like, you know, prehistoric times or pre-Columbian, whatever. It's like there's modern indigenous art now. There's so much more, there's so many things that we just don't know. And it also, to me as a Latina, when I see that, it makes me feel so proud of, you know, what we do, who we are, of the creativity of the young people, and all the ways that they're finding and defining Latino identity. For us, like this, I feel like we're all still on this journey of like defining Latinos in the US, right? Like, who are we really? You know, and it's evolving all the time. And I think a mirror of that evolution is the arts. Like, we're literally looking at it. We're looking at this evolution, how we're mixing it all together between cultures, between countries, and also inside of ourselves. So it's like, it really does move something, not just like, let's show the Anglos like you know, who we are, but also to ourselves. You know, it kind of completes it all. I think.
Hey, listen, representation matters, right? Representation matters. It matters, and you want to see elected officials that look like you, that understand the issues and the opportunities. You want to see leaders in different fields that look like you. You want to go to a doctor that looks like you. All of that representation matters. And it also matters in the arts. And what you just said is precisely that. You want, you know, to feel represented. You want to see the wide diversity of who we are as people, both in our countries and here in the diaspora. And you want to see that represented in the arts. So you want to see more modern indigenous arts and more traditional indigenous arts, because all of it is an evolution of who we are as we evolve as a country and as people within a country. I think that's really important, and the arts help us to do that. So yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of like checking some boxes. I think in a way, like, you know, I feel like, because we've had this conversation many times, I've seen many of the work that IBA has done in terms of exhibitions and all the artists that they bring. I feel like when you're an organization like IBA trying to preserve the arts, like in also like anywhere in the country, you gotta do your research, right? You gotta dig deep into like what we are as Latinos. What is it that we're trying to say? What is the concept that we're trying to do, and also help this community grow. To help the kids learn, and because I feel like every experience is a learning experience, and so it's like I definitely commend the trying. Like, maybe it doesn't work all the time, right? Like maybe
it doesn't.
Maybe it
doesn't. I mean,
maybe you just didn't. It was not a good fit, but you gotta try it.
Yeah, we've talked about Festival de Dances, right? And Festival de Dances is being held now for over 50 years. And it's a wonderful community event that really brings up and coming artists, new talent, but also more established talent. A couple of years ago, I think it was the first festival right after the pandemic, that as we're thinking about the theme, every year we try to work a theme for the festival and work the artists that are going to be presented in the festival around that theme. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the year right after the pandemic, we did 2 virtual festivals during the pandemic, but the first year that we come out back in person to Plaza Betances to have the festival, we had this idea of really talking about the evolution of Latino music, specifically Caribbean music, Puerto Rican and Dominican and Cuban primarily. And we came up with this concept called From Bomba to Reggaeton. So the evolution of the music, the bomba music and the traditional trovadores, improvisation music that came through Africa and Spain into our countries during colonization. And then how that has evolved into reggaeton and the improvisation and the rhyming that happens within the genre of reggaeton. So we had that concept, and we brought artists that would help us, create that sequence. Well, it was really nice, but we learned that year that our audience for the festival, they like reggaeton, but not that much. And people, they stay, but they didn't enjoy it as much. But we took a risk, and you experiment, right? You want to try different things, and you want to see what the audience reacts to, what they like, what they want to see. And so we learned. But those are the things that sometimes people are not willing or ready or able to take risks, because sometimes it's not that you're not willing. Sometimes you don't have the resources, right? The funds.
Right.
So if
it does take a very strong funder to say, all right, let's go try this.
Exactly.
A very, it takes some good relationships with your funders.
Yes, that's very important. That they support it and that they understand, right, what you're trying to do, and that there's a method to the madness, that, like they say in Spanish, in English, but that there's some rationale behind what you're trying to do. So to your point, that it's not about checking a box and it's like, oh, we're gonna do reggaeton or we're gonna do salsa. That in our case, we really think about, okay, what is that we want to accomplish? What is the message that we want to bring across to our audience? How do we want to engage them? And what do we want to learn from them? As opposed to let's throw another salsa or a reggaeton concert or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, it's been, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, I can't remember exactly who, but I was telling them about rock en español, and they had no idea, this is an American person, no idea that there was rock in Spanish. And I'm like, and they were like, oh, that's actually kind of niche. And I was like, niche?
It's pretty popular.
Let me tell you that probably some of the most famous Spanish rock bands have more plays than many English-speaking bands, just because of the amount of people that speak Spanish. We are so many between the whole Latin America and Spain. We're talking about billions of people that talk in Spanish, and so.
Because
so it's like, this is not a niche market.
Exactly.
This is not a niche music. This is actually like a huge movement that's been going on since the 60s. And there's Spanish rock. There's like huge bands that play, packed stadiums, and some people are just like in shock about some of these music movements that they've never heard of, but they're huge. And so it's so, and this is, I think, to your point of the preserving the culture, this is so important, because there's so many things that people don't know about Latino culture that are so important to know, and so important to round out that perspective that people have about us. And so
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and to look at, like we have said before, at the wide diversity, right? The rich diversity of Latin jazz is another good example. And earlier you mentioned classical music. We have great Latin American classical music composers and conductors and musicians, right? So it really it's just that sometimes people do not appreciate how talented our community is, but how rich and diverse is as well. So it's super fun. It's amazing, and it's really important to use spaces like this one that you have created, Clemencia, to talk about these things and to really engage your audience and anyone that we talk to in our day-to-day lives to really understand the power of the arts and how they can also support it and sponsor it, because sometimes we don't even support our own. And it's important that we understand the importance of the arts and culture, that we support them, that we sponsor them, that we share with others, that we bring others along with us to events, because it's important not only to build community but also to support our artists. We need to do that.
Yes.
But that's their job, right? That's their living. That's how they make a living, and we need to support that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like, yeah, we can all go to a Bad Bunny concert, but also support your local artists, support your small concerts, go see people that you've never heard before, go give them a chance, and also go to exhibits that feature Latino artists. Go, let's support our own people, because if we're not supporting them, then who is going to?
Exactly. And if you are involved with an arts organization or with funder, etc., just push for them to bring more Latino artists and more funds to Latino arts.
And not just in Hispanic Heritage Month.
Not just from September 15th to October 15th. Please, por favor. O como se llama,
por favor, ya no.
Por favor.
Por favor.
Por favor.
Yes, I mean, I'm a little tired of just doing the Latino thing in Hispanic Heritage Month. I think that we need to do better.
Yeah. Or the Cinco de Mayo.
Organizations need to do better.
That feels so disingenuous. I mean, we should celebrate them. We should celebrate our Latinidad during that month, but during every month, right? Not just that month. So
yeah, put more Latinos in the roster. We're 20% of the population. You should have at least 20% of your artists be Latino.
Exactly.
In any kind of, in your museum, in your theater, in your concert hall, in whatever, you should have 20% of your artists come in that are Latinos.
Correct.
There you go. There's your goal.
There's your goal.
Guys out there,
representation matters. Let's just exactly. That's the goal. It's that easy.
I mean, there's tons out there you're not gonna have a lack of people.
No, absolutely no. The talent
there's tons out there.
It really is amazing. For example, here in Boston, because we have so many great higher education institutions. For example, Berklee College of Music and the Massachusetts College of Arts, MassArt. And the School of the Museums of the Museum of Fine Arts. We have great talented young people, young artists from every walk of life, but we have a growing number of Latino artists in these institutions. Many of them move back to their countries or go somewhere else, like Miami or Texas or California or New York, because those markets tend to be bigger for Latinos and Latino arts and artists. But that's why the work that we do at IBA, I think, is so important, because it opens, like you said earlier, this is not a very Latino city, but it opens and helps cement our presence, right? It makes our presence being felt. It also gives these new artists an opportunity to expose their work and their talent and creativity. extreme creativity. It's just super creative people.
Yes,
I'm not very
definitely.
creative, so I'm always in awe when I'm around these talented individuals that can create such beautiful art, whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or a theater piece. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, dance. Yeah. So that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and the challenges and also the beauty. And I love to hear what you guys have going on right now. Is there anything that people should be aware of locally, or that you guys have, anybody that you're bringing?
Yes, so as we're entering the summer of 2024, we have a wonderful lineup of events for the summer, starting with a collaboration that we do every year with the city of Boston and Berkeley, called the Tito Puente Latin Music Series. That's 6 Thursdays in a row with wonderful musicians. It moves from park to park, different parks throughout the city, and we will close at the Boston Common this year with Tito Puente Jr. It's the Tito Puente Latin Music Series. So it's going to be good. You can find out more information in our page, ibaboston.org. We also have our flagship event that we have talked about throughout our conversation, the Festival de Dances. This year is on July 20th. And it's going to be, the theme is Un Verano en Betances. So, rich people spend their summers in Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and the Hamptons, I don't know where. But the rest of us spend the summer in the city. So this year, Un Verano en Betances will be that, a summer in the city. So it's going to be a great salsa festival. And we're going to close with Charlie Aponte, who made Un Verano en Nueva York, la canción del Gran Combo, who made it famosa. So everything's coming together very nicely. That's July 20th. So I hope that people will join us for all of these events throughout the summer. You can find out more at ibaboston.org or our social media pages, and follow us because we have a lot of other good events coming in the fall of 2024.
Yes. All right. You guys, you have some homework. Get 20% of artists that are Latinos in your organization, and go to Tito Puente Latin Music Series and go to Festival Betances. See you guys there.
Sí.
And we're all dance together.
There.
Vanessa, thank you so much for being on the show, sharing all your knowledge, and I love this topic so much. It really fills my heart. Thank you. And thank you guys out there, if you like this, please let me know. You can find us at Chancleta Generation on the Insta and on the TikTok and on the X. And you can contact me directly at clem@chancletageneration.com. And if you like this, leave us a review or send us a message. Thank you guys. See you next time.
Thank you.